I think it's just going to dominate. Culturally, we're so strong. There's a connection you make when you start to buy NFTs that you just can't go back. It just penetrates the entertainment industry so well, gaming to art to all this sort of things. I think from a year or two from now, we went from a year ago or 8 months ago, we went from mainstream asking what the hell are NFTs to now a lot more of those participants coming in and doing stuff, whether they're buying art and stuff. And that's why we're seeing certain sectors explode. Yeah, I think we're going to be pretty big. I think the gaming sector alone is just going to be huge.
All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin, here with Aaron, and today we're talking all NFTs with NFT expert Matty, or how you probably know him on Twitter as DCLBlogger. Matty, thanks for hopping on with us.
It's my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Can't wait to talk NFTs.
So for everybody, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the headlines in terms of CryptoPunks selling for millions. Visa just bought a CryptoPunk. Hedge funds are buying NFTs along with major influencers like Logan Paul, etc. What are NFTs, and also what are the different types for people that maybe aren't familiar?
So NFTs are short for non-fungible tokens. And basically what we've been buying in the crypto space all this time for 10 to 12 years are fungible tokens. Bitcoin is a fungible token. Ethereum, every cryptocurrency that we bought have been on that side of the coin, being fungible in the sense of if you give me a Bitcoin, I can give you another Bitcoin back. And there's no argument that they both have equal value. A dollar has an equal value to a dollar. If I give you a car, a 1999 car and Honda Civic, and you give me a 1999 Honda Civic, they're both different because they have different, maybe some has damage on it, one has more tires worn out, etc. So in the NFT space, a non-fungible token is where two items are different. It's a token on the blockchain where it can point to an image, or it could point to a plot of land in a world, or a game item. And each game item can be different. Each land item can be different. So they have non-fungible properties, hence the non-fungible token term. So basically, it's kind of like a receipt or a contract that represents the ownership of a digital item.
And I'm too late with CryptoPunks, correct? That's over. Or am I wrong?
It depends. It depends on your strategy, whether it's a long-term thing and your long-term thesis as to where the money is going to come in. I think CryptoPunks are going to do really well. I mean, if Visa is going to purchase them, what's happening is these firms, they want to connect with the culture of the crypto space. And to do that, they need to anchor themselves somehow. And some of them go off to build a Decentraland HQ presence. Some of them buy a CryptoPunk and say, yo, we've got a CryptoPunk. We're releasing an NFT strategy. That's exactly what Visa did. So if we think that's what the strategy is going to do, and there's only 10,000 CryptoPunks, then it seems like there's much more upside, right?
So what traits do valuable NFTs have?
It depends per game and niche. There are different NFTs niches, right? So there's the art space, then there's the gaming space, and then there's the collectibles. In most of them, the most valuable NFTs across all of them, if you wind it back, come back to them being historically significant to that group. CryptoPunks being historically significant for the Ethereum space or NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain, just because of how big Ethereum started to become a superpower in the NFT space. So when you wind it all back, people say, well, CryptoPunks was the first. It's recently found out that they're not the first. There's actually some NFTs prior to Ethereum, and people are finding those and hunting down the blockchain, being, I guess, blockchain archaeologists, and picking out those NFTs. And suddenly, like, you see a rock being sold for $600,000 by Justin, being bought for $600,000 by Justin Sun, because it's a 2017 project. So historically, they're becoming significant. In the case of Axie Infinity, which is a game which now has millions of players, the early Axies are now selling for tens of thousands of dollars because of that exact reason.
So how does the average person make money with NFTs? If your little brother, I don't even know if you have siblings, but if your little brother came to you and said, what's the easiest, most accessible way for me, what would you tell him?
I would tell them to spend time learning, spend a few weekends diving deep into things. The industry is too broad. I wish there was a quick answer to things, but it's so broad. It's kind of like this whole physical collectible industry is now becoming digital. from vintage cars to collectible baseball cards to collectible Pokemon cards to, I don't know, Pez back scratches that people collect, whatever it is, right? This whole industry is going digital. So it's kind of like trying to keep tabs on everything. It's very difficult to do so. You're eventually finding your niche. But I would definitely recommend spending some weekends looking at OpenSea.io. There's a rankings page that ranks the top NFT projects by volume. So about the 7-day volume, it tells you everything that's going on. It gives you the categories from collectibles to art, etc. And then kind of dive deep into things that you seem to connect with, whether it be art. It may not make any sense to you at the start, but when you click into it, you click the website, you see that you join the community, you play Axie Infinity for the first time. You may feel like you need to force yourself to learn. And I think, whatever it may be, just do it. Because for me, art was a new thing. I did not understand NFT art. I have never collected art before, but I forced myself to learn it. And now I understand it. Same with Axie Infinity. So there's a bit of that. But a few weekends later, it'll start to click, spend $50 on an art piece or your first NFT. And that's the rabbit hole will begin. There's no turning back. When you buy your first NFT, you cannot not buy more. That's just how it is.
Interesting. So, and I even want to go more practical in terms of, okay, I've learned about it. I've seen the most volume, maybe just what you personally do to make money. Like, what do you focus on? What interests you the most?
What interests me, there's multiple strategies that you can employ with NFTs. Some of them are, it's very, very similar to the crypto space. In the crypto space, you have, trading off volume. You've got looking at liquidity. You're looking at order books. You're looking at thin floors. All this economic terminology exists in the NFT space. So for me, sometimes I trade based on, I go into an NFT project and I'm seeing like 10 to 15 sales happening every minute. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Maybe I can buy one and flip it real quickly for a couple of ETH profit. And that's a very easy thing to do because you can go to OpenSea and check the activity. But for the long-term ones, it's kind of like investing in a project for the long term. You look at the founder, you look at his social presence, you see if they can drive a project in terms of marketing and they're building a great product. You see the supply of, they've got 10,000 of these NFTs. They're all land plots. I recently invested in a project called Treeverse, which is a founder called Loopify, who's quite active on social, and he's building like the RuneScape sort of thing of blockchain. And to me, RuneScape, it's nostalgic. I used to play it a lot, so you can jump in and play the game. But there's only 10,000 plots, and you can, he's showing video footage of people jumping in and playing the game already. So for me, that's a big sign that this person is delivering a product. More people that want to buy. There's only 10,000 plots. I bought one for 0.4 Ethereum about a week ago. Now the cheapest one is about 1.5. And you can see there's consistent activity every day, 100 or 200 plots sell of that on the secondary market. So naturally the price will go up. So you can, I look at that. I look at the historical significance. So recently with CryptoPunks being seen as the first NFT project on Ethereum, it was perceived as that for 3 years until recently people found someone's earlier to that. So there's Curio cards, there's Ethereum and a couple of projects behind. So I kind of ran out and purchased a lot of that stuff because historically when people look through the blockchain and the knowledge spreads, then 2017, 2018 projects might have some of that history, nostalgic, important for the era factor to it. So there's a bunch of different things you can do, but it starts with just getting into something and figuring out which projects you want to get into and then looking at the economics.
So what I'm hearing you say is how to get started in making money in NFTs. You said it's very similar to the cryptocurrency space and what you do. So you'd go on one of the most popular exchanges for NFTs, OpenSea, and you would get to know OpenSea, and you would find something you like, and you'd check the volume, see if there's a lot of volume going on. You check the team, see who's backing it. Maybe you'd see if there's any VC funding. Maybe you'd see the roadmap, and then you buy if you like it.
You experiment, yeah. You buy, you start slow. You can even buy the cryptocurrency token. So Axie Infinity, you could have played the game and realized, wait a second, this is a very addictive game. You can see the daily active users increasing. You can see the economics where they have, well, to breed another Axie, you have to burn 2 Axis tokens effectively. Then you're like, wait a second, this is going to put enormous pressure on the supply of the Axis token when this blows up. And that could be one of your thesis on where you invest in, right? So you may buy some NFTs, maybe you just buy some Axis token or some Decentraland Mana token because you think visually it's quite appealing, so people share it a lot on Twitter and social media. So there's also that sort of stuff you can do. But yes, you go in, you look at volume, or you can even look at some very, it's really like cryptocurrency projects, guys. It's like the top 100, then you have the second page where it's not as much volume, but maybe something could blow up. The more time you spend kind of hunting deep for those gems, the more upside you're going to see, just like in crypto.
And unlike just in crypto, this is art. So how much does that subjective come into play? Because I understand the objective part. Good team, good volume, very similar to crypto. How much is the subjective part?
So I think that part of it is predominantly with the art niche. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But if it's not the art niche, so for example, CryptoPunks, right? I don't think there's much subjectivity with CryptoPunks because each trait has a rarity. So if it's like there's only 7 alien or 9 alien punks, right? So it's got, because of that, yes, it's blue and people might like blue, but the rarity is what demands, tens of millions of dollars worth of price comparative to the rest. But with art, like you mentioned, there absolutely is subjectivity, but I'm learning as I'm a new art collector that subjectivity is one thing. And then when you buy art and you tweet about it and say, hey, I bought so-and-so's art, then that kind of signals out to other collectors to go buy another art from that artist. And that momentum is like, wait a second, this artist has all these big collectors. Those collectors help the artist get into galleries and Decentraland and some virtual plots, virtual stuff. And then it kind of goes out like that. Subjectivity, it definitely matters. Sometimes you just don't understand it. So for example, generative art is now selling for millions. Like there's a squiggle, the Chromie squiggle recently sold for, I think, 2.5 million USD, which I think they deploy a script and that script creates the art and that art gets deployed onto blockchain. So that sort of thing definitely has a market. I don't understand that, but it obviously has value. So massively, that's the beauty of the space is someone else might not see value, but a small section of a wealthy collector group might.
Okay. I like that. Everybody listening, I want to hear from you guys in the audience. What do you think about what he just said? What NFT platforms are you on? What's your strategy when it comes to NFTs? What I want to ask our guest here is we've seen the success of CryptoPunks. We've seen the Moon Cats, the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, seen the Pudgy Penguins. How do I find the next CryptoPunks? How do I find the next thing like that? And what advice would you give to NFT investors in general when it comes to finding the next big trend in NFTs?
I would say that one thing CryptoPunks and Axie Infinity and all of these projects that went on to have NFTs worth in the millions had in common is that there were previous smaller cycles before what led to that phase. So if you look at some of the long-standing NFT projects, and I think Curio Cards is following the same example where people are starting to realize that it existed prior to CryptoPunks. They're starting to see some volumes coming in and the price, there's like waves, right? If you look at the chart, there's waves you can see. And if you look at CryptoPunks, it was the same thing. It was waves and they started small and everyone was like, oh, wow, the floor is 2 Ethereum, which now seems quite small. But back then it was a big deal. And then it was like, oh, wow, the floor is now 8 Ethereum. 2 months later, suddenly it became 16 Ethereum. Now it's, 65 Ethereum, $200,000 for the cheapest CryptoPunk. But there's trending consistent waves, which shows that over 6 months time, over 1 year, there's still a reason to purchase these NFTs. And when you have a hard cap supply and time goes on, then it's only going to get scarcer and more rare. So I think that similarity is something I look at 100%. To find the next CryptoPunks, again, it's about your niche. I think you have to figure out where you want to explore, whether it be art or collectibles and all sorts of things. If we talk about avatar projects, I think it's a risky bet because CryptoPunks have that long significance where after 3 years of deployment, they can still have value because historically they are significant. Now, all these new avatar projects, I'm not sure if any of them have proven themselves to exist more than 3 to 4 months. So it's like you may see, Bored Apes went to 40 ETH. I think they're being auctioned at Christie's or something now. But will they exist a year or two from now? I don't know. That history has not been proven yet. But there's a massive demand for these avatar projects because it seems like everyone in Twitter wants to get involved, and it seems like putting your avatar profile picture as something that you invested in is a thing to do. So I would, there's a really good website called Rarity Tools. I think it's rarity.tools, and you can see the upcoming NFT avatar projects. And I would totally advise scanning through that, find what you like, and experiment with buying some. So That's the only way you find it. And every now and then, maybe an influencer just puts up that, hey, we just bought this thing, and then boom, you can make a big return on that.
Does Gary's VeeFriends have legs? Is that something to look at? What do you think?
I think it does, because when you buy a project, what you're actually buying is a forever connection to that brand, project, or personality or artist's work. If you think Gary's V is going to be a big deal 10 years from now, or a bigger deal than he is now, buying a VeeFriend is a way to invest in that success. So whatever it may be, or whatever VeeFriends might do, that's the link you can make with Gary's success, or like investing into someone's career. And that's the same mentality with artists, is that they can continue to release art. And if you think the artist is going to be a big deal, for example, there was an artist called Corey Van Loo. Corey Van Loo, I approached about a year ago, and was just talking to, because I thought he was a great artist, on Twitter. And then I helped him get into some platforms, and I kind of advised on how to get into it. And I said, hey, I'd love to buy your first 5 pieces for $1,000 each. I went on to do that. He recently did a collaboration with Mike Tyson, right? So he did the art piece for Mike Tyson, which I think went for about $150,000 or $200,000. So that brings complete value to the original things that I did. But the success of that increases the value of the NFTs he has, that he created. So him as an artist, or Gary Vee as a personality, or a project as, like, for example, Lava Labs, right? Lava Labs released CryptoPunks. They went on to then release Meebits. Meebits sold $80 million on primary because it was tied to the Lava Labs name. So again, the stack of NFTs that an artist, a creator, a brand has, I think it has absolutely legs, because Gary Vee has legs.
So obviously nobody knows the future, and half the fun is speculating what's going to happen. Anything could happen. But if you were to ask us in 2017, where would the cryptocurrency market be 4 or 5 years later, a lot of people would have guessed wrong. But that being said, NFTs, they're not going away. They're only getting bigger. Where do you see the NFT space 5 years from now?
5 years is like 50 years in the NFT space. I think it's just going to dominate. Culturally, we're so strong. There's a connection you make when you start to buy NFTs that you just can't go back. I used to check my Blockfolio daily every half an hour, as we do. We check out, our crypto holdings. I really do that now, and any profits I make, I start to put it across the NFT space. It just penetrates the entertainment industry so well, gaming to art, to all this sort of things. I think from a year or two from now, we went from a year ago or 8 months ago, we went from mainstream asking what the hell are NFTs, to now a lot more of those participants coming in and doing stuff, whether they're buying art and stuff. And that's why we're seeing certain sectors explode. I think we're going to be pretty big. I think the gaming sector alone is just going to be huge. I know that Axie Infinity itself, and you may think the game is quite simple, but they make they're on track to do $500 million in revenue for the company for the next 12 months. So Fortnite and other companies and people looking at that model, like, they're absolutely going to deploy some of this strategy.
Dude, Axie Infinity, in my mind, opened up the gaming sector. It's like, how are not all the executives that Monday morning not talking about Axie?
Exactly.
Understanding. Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say exactly. I think previously gaming made sense for the consumers, because, hey, you can unlock the ability to trade NFTs and earn money. But it never made sense for game developers, because it's like, well, if they can do that, then they can just take it to OpenSea and then they take our revenue. But Axie Infinity showed that they were still able to make it work, because there's this cryptocurrency play to earn model, and you make your money as a game developer through maybe a token and the appreciation of your token and holding onto your treasury and all sorts of different mechanics that social mechanics that blockchain allows. So absolutely, yeah, Monday mornings must be really interesting in those game studio boardrooms.
And I want to remind the audience that in cryptocurrency, we're in a hot market. We're in a bull market. NFTs, clearly right now, hot market. Markets go up and down. Eventually, it'll be in a cold market. So make sure you do the research before putting any significant amount of money in. And understanding that, just to you, and I'm not talking about price, but to you, Matty, what smaller projects, newer projects interest you right now?
I look at the NFT space as history slowly telling us what's good investments. And so far, it looks like those that are tied to some sort of historical significance, a timeline. The one thing about NFT space that's very different to the crypto space is timelines matter. And the crypto space, like if you buy a cryptocurrency and that project doesn't go on to build utility for that currency, then I would assume the value of that would drop, right? Basically, ICO is exactly what that happened, ICO 2017. With NFTs, you can release the crappiest project in 2017. 3 years later, it's an artifact because history matters on the blockchain. It's preserved better on the blockchain. So for me, I'm looking back, we're at a time where CryptoPunks have showed the world, or the NFT world, that, hey, history is dominant for collectors and people want a piece of that. And that's what brings a lot of value here. So I'm into curio cards because I was pre-CryptoPunks, and the cheapest one is only 0.3 Ethereum. We know Gary Vee's recently bought it. It's one of the first crypto art projects on Ethereum or in the space in general. So personally, I've got some of that. Treeverse launched a while back. They're 1.5 Ethereum each. What else? There is Boss Logic released this project called Gauntlets. So you can buy a gauntlet that's like randomly generated, and he's gonna introduce that into his game universe. Boss Logic is the artist who does a lot of stuff with Marvel and DC, and he has 2.2 million followers on Instagram. So he's a pretty big digital artist. Some early art, I think Xcopy is one of the biggest digital artists so far. He sold artwork for like 1.7 mil and upwards, I think. And he has an open mint, 870 mints that he did about a year ago on Nifty Gateway, and there's only 870 of them. The cheapest one right now is 5,000 USD. About 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, it was about 2,500 USD. So I can see that being a pretty good buy. There's a bunch of stuff I can go through that you will probably find on your journey that they are good, your own projects. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was a great baseline. I want to encourage, there's so much more to talk about. I want to encourage the audience down below in the comment section. If we didn't get to a question, or if you have a project you're passionate about, comment down below. We'll have Matty back on. But just final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily community.
Final thoughts is take your time. This is, I know we're from the crypto space and we are used to bear markets. We're used to bull markets. We're used to tops. We're used to bottoms. I feel that the NFT space is a little bit different to that. Absolutely, there's a lot of speculation. Absolutely, you have to be careful and you may be buying the top. But at the end of the day, there are differentiating factors. The game industry will continue, whether or not crypto does or not. The art industry will continue, whether or not crypto will or not. Yes, the spending power at the moment is crypto dominated. So if Bitcoin hypothetically goes down to zero, then it will affect that market, but they will continue to go. So take your time and do your research and absorb it before you put your money in, and go slow before you go fast. NFTs are extremely illiquid. So if you get into something just because you thought it was a good idea and you put a significant amount of capital, 3 months later, the crowd moves on, then you can almost not bring that money back out. It's not like a cryptocurrency exchange where you can start to somewhat bring some of that capital out. It's illiquid. So there's some risks there, but have fun. It's so much fun. Once you're in it, you're playing games, you're connecting with the community. All my friends that I got into crypto are now into NFTs, and they just love the space so much. So look past the JPEG if you're a bit skeptical. Pay $50 to just buy your first piece here and there and give it a shot. I mean, that's what people in crypto did, and now they're doing well. NFTs seem to be the next thing, and it's worth a shot.
Appreciate that. DCLBlogger, one of the top NFT people in the space. Links how to stay in touch with him in the description below. He's the guy to follow. Anything else today, Austin?
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks, guys. It was an honor, and I'd love to do it again.